Robbed Childhood. Chapter 7. Section. Months passed. As the school year was about to end, my siblings convinced me to try out for entrance examination in the secondary school of their current university. I had a moment of hesitation. Going there, it means that I would leave my parents and live with my siblings in the semi-city. But anyhow, I just decided to try. Preparing for the examination, I reviewed for days. Though I wasn't confident that I'd be accepted, I just put in my mind that even if I fail, there are still several schools out there. After the examination, I went back to the province. At that time, we were already preparing for graduation. The event rehearsals started 5 days before the graduation day. On the third day of rehearsal, me being the top of the class, my teachers informed me that I would deliver a speech in front of my co-graduates and my schoolmates. I had mixed emotions. I was overwhelmed to be given the honor, but at the same time, I was so nervous. Writing a speech was so hard because I had disorganized thoughts, so my teachers helped me. I was lying in my bed, reciting the speech I would deliver the next day. My excitement and nervousness kept me awake most of the night. Morning came. As early as I could, I went straight to school. I saw my batch mates in their graduating uniforms, the well-decorated stage, and the pinned medals on the corner. From a distance, I could see my teacher approaching me with a big smile. She hugged me tightly and whispered a few words. "Congratulations. You did it. I'm very proud of you." The program was about to start and my siblings and my mother arrived at the school. We went to our designated positions for the parade. Minutes passed, and the graduation song was played. I was so happy. I kept on squealing softly as we walked slowly towards the stage. One after the other. I could see the excitement in everyone's faces. When it was our turn, as we were stepping up towards the stage, I whispered to myself, "I did it." I was so overwhelmed. Delivering my speech, my voice kept cracking as I almost broke into tears. I had the mixed emotion of happiness brought by my graduation and longing. At that moment, I wished that my father was watching me. I wished my father was there to listen. But just like any other recognition day in my whole life, he never came. Weeks passed and I was left to babysit some of my nieces. Their parents left them to us so they can finish their own businesses. During those times, I just enjoyed the time I had with my naughty nieces. Then, the day came for the result of the admission. I was really nervous. As I was waiting for my sister's call, I just went around the house nervously. Until I heard the phone rang, I grabbed it and answered it hurriedly. I was so shocked by what I heard. I passed the examination. I screamed so loud that my sleeping nieces were awakened. And just like that, I was distracted by my nieces throwing tantrums. The excitement I felt lasted for just a few minutes, and then I went back to babysit. Months passed and I was so excited because we were going for the 5-day trial. Basically, we are just going to go around the campus and clean, get to know our new classmates and schoolmates. For the first day, my sister accompanied me to school, but because she had another business to attend to, I was left alone there staring nervously to the other kids. Then I noticed a gorgeous girl beside me. She was also staring around. Our eyes met and just smiled at each other. She approached me and we introduced ourselves to each other. Surprisingly, we clicked instantly. She was really an easygoing girl. The bell rang and we went to the campus. We then were called to form a line. Unfortunately, we had different strands, so I just went to my designated line. The teachers then oriented us and assigned our designated areas to clean. Weeks passed and the official first day of class came. I was actually expecting that despite the different tracks, we would still all get along. But I was very wrong. For some reason, the agricultural section, was getting isolated from the other sections. I just couldn't understand what exactly is wrong. I was then informed that we were required to maintain the average grade of 85 or else we would be removed from the section. We were often seen as the know-it-all, over-competitive, over-participative and aggressive type of students. They say it was a common issue in the campus. The sections were just like segregation systems. Chapter 8. Chasing Expectations. At first, I wasn't much pressured about the idea, but as time passed, considering that the environment was not what I was used to, heavy pressure began haunting me. I tried my best not to be fully influenced by the tension from the school. So during those days, I reconnected with a close friend of mine who moved to the city when we were still in grade school. She was a friend I met during my competing days in journalism. She was studying from a school not far from my current school. We occasionally hang out at the nearby Talapapa and snack houses. There was one time, the tension at school was getting darker. We were given a certain project which takes too long to accomplish. I worked on it for days. I was so exhausted, so I decided to hang out with her to loosen up for just a moment. I shared with her about what I was going through at that time. I even showed her the projects I worked so hard for. Coincidentally, she told me that they were also required to do the exact same project. As I was just from school at that time, the project that was almost completed was in my bag, so I showed it to her and shared my concept. We parted ways that day before dark. As usual, I reached home alone. My siblings were busy with their work and studies. I just went straight to bed. I was so tired that I was lazy to even lift a finger, let alone doing household chores. I took a nap for a few minutes. As I was checking my things, I noticed that my project was not in my bag. At first, I didn't dare to think that maybe that friend took it because I believed that she wouldn't be able to do it. I kept on thinking that maybe I just left it at the cafe. I went back to the cafe, but I found nothing. I then thought that maybe it fell down when I was walking home, so I searched all the way, but I still found nothing. I was devastated. I burst into tears, thinking that I would need to redo it again. That project took me 2 straight days to make, and it was due 2 days from that very moment. I was feeling very miserable. I calmed myself and started doing household chores to be distracted. After a few hours, my siblings reached home and we ate dinner together. I didn't want to share it with them because I knew that they also had a hard time that day. Maybe if I tell them about it, I'd just add to their stress. That night, I bought the materials I needed from the nearest store. I just stopped myself to think of pessimistic things as I'm not really sure of what happened. I just focused on my project because it's one of the most important tasks I have to do to maintain my grades. Fortunately, I still was able to complete it before the deadline. The next day, I grabbed my phone and sent her a message, but she wasn't online. I checked her Facebook story and saw a picture of my output. It turned out that she used it for a competition. I wanted to confirm, so I texted one of my friends that goes to the same school as hers. I discovered that it was not required as a project, but when she heard the ideas I shared that time, she somehow saw it as a potential for their school competition. I was very flustered. I wanted to talk to her, but I stopped myself because I was afraid I would act impulsively. I just simply told myself that maybe she really needed it desperately. I just moved on and let it go. I didn't hear from her for a whole week. One day, she sent me a message through Messenger. Sorry, just one word. Pretending not to know a thing, I asked her why she was sorry. She then asked me if I lost something. Wanting to hear the complete details from her directly, I just wanted her to be honest because, by that time, I was completely over it. I wanted her to confess. I expected that she would say sorry sincerely, so I just patiently waited. But her next reply was just, "Oh, okay, never mind." I didn't want to offend her, so I just replied, "Okay, long time no see, by the way." At that moment, I wasn't angry about the project she stole from me. I was angry that she couldn't be honest with me. What if she was just afraid of how I would react? I took the initiative and grabbed my phone. Texting a message, I kept on erasing it and hesitating if what I was about to do was appropriate. In the end, I sent her a message. "I know that you stole my project. I'd be honest, I was really angry at you. Actually, I was expecting you to confess first because your first message was, sorry. If you failed to do so because you were afraid of how I would react, I'm telling you it's okay. I am over it already. I just want you to be honest with me and maybe tell me why exactly you did it." I waited for several minutes and she finally replied, "What are you talking about? I never stole from you. That project I had that looked like yours, I got it from the trash can in the cafe we went to last time. Are you telling me this because you don't want me as a friend? Okay then, just say it directly. Bye." I was left in awe. What? Without any other words, she just blocked me. I was very frustrated at that time. I just needed one explanation, one reason, or if not, a genuine apology. Why is it that I became the one at fault? Shortly after that, I reconnected with another friend I met at grade school who happened to have a crush on my best friend. I introduced them to each other upon knowing her feelings. I became their matchmaker. I was the bridge to their relationship. A few months after, they told me that they got together. Fast, isn't it? Well, at first, I was so happy for them. Seeing them being lovey-dovey was so satisfying. Believe me, being the third wheel, at first, can be so enjoyable. But as time passed, they started to change. They argued on simple things. They break up one minute and get back together on the other. It became so stressful. I even had to pick sides when they argue. The worst time was when the girl started getting jealous of me. She would always say that I am closer to her boyfriend. When we get together to hang out, she would always ask me why do I know everything about him when she, as a girlfriend, doesn't. It was getting more and more childish. There was even one time that she forcibly took my phone from me and sent a message to her BF saying that I have a crush on him. Honestly, I did. But that was long ago when we were still in grade school. At that time, I just let it go. Their relationship became more toxic. I wanted to exclude myself, so I didn't hang out with them for a few weeks. After 3 to 4 months, my best friend texted me. They broke up. I didn't know what to do. Was I supposed to comfort him or just say that it's for the best? I didn't say a thing. A few weeks passed. They told me that they got back together, again. Just until, when will they do this? I was very frustrated. One time, I met with them as I wanted to open up about my annoyance on the high standards and expectations I encounter. Why complain, yet you have high grades? You are intelligent. That's nothing. Our situation is worse than yours. Hearing those words, I lost my temper. I acted impulsively to the point that I let out all my frustrations even about their relationship. I was furious at that time, so I wasn't thinking straight. The next thing I knew, they completely blocked me not only on social media but also in real life. They never talked to me ever since. Not even a simple greeting on my birthday. Those years full of promises left me just like that. I was left alone, blaming myself. Is it my fault? Am I the problem? I lost one friend after another. I began losing interest in some things. I was not that interactive in class. I didn't want to reach out to any of my classmates. Don't get it the wrong way. It's not that they are not good friends. It's just that I started finding it hard to trust anyone. I kept on overthinking that maybe they would also do the same things to me. Moreover, trying to connect with them and trying to open up, before I could even start reaching out, I would have these thoughts. Maybe they would just end up hurting me. I should protect myself, shouldn't I? Maybe they'll just abandon me. I shut myself so hard. I didn't speak much. But I admit, there were also times that I went too far. In simple conversations, I have unintentionally offended some of my peers. With those words, there were times that I kept on pushing them away unintentionally. With just my simplest words and gestures. But the guilt I felt didn't break me free. I just kept myself in one zone. The zone I am used to be in. I was too afraid to reach out. I just didn't want to hurt myself again. Chapter 9. I lost my pen. Putting up a big wall, for some reason, as time passed, I just got used to it and didn't care. I just minded my own business. I didn't want to be involved with anyone. Few weeks passed, our advisor was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was one of the gloomiest days of school. The school assigned a substitute teacher who was then advised to guide us. I started being anxious about the idea of having a substitute teacher. You see, I had a not so good experience with sudden change of advisors. Thankfully, the sub was approachable and a go-with-the-flow person. However, trying to adjust and adapt to another type of environment, it was still hard for me because I literally had no one to take out my stress into. I didn't want to burden my siblings. I was too afraid to open up to my classmates. The pressure in our grades was getting heavier as time passed by. As some of our classmates are at the brink of falling off, the eagerness to maintain a high grade was getting deeper and deeper. One of the worst things I did in my whole school life was when our teacher required us to take pictures of signs on jeepneys to apply our learnings in Filipino. I had a hard time finding a partner at that time. I never tried to reach out, so I didn't have a close friend. Luckily, someone took the initiative and reached out to me because she also had no partner. But as I wasn't very much familiar with riding jeepneys, let alone interacting with strangers, I was scared to go out and take pictures. I was also scared that maybe something would happen to me outside if I go out alone. I didn't dare to ask for assistance from my siblings. They are so busy. I didn't want to add more stress. The deadline was nearing, so I just downloaded pictures from the internet and put fake plate numbers. Mind you, I am not proud of it. I was so disappointed with myself, but I had no choice. I was too afraid to take risks. But let me say this again. There is no excuse to invalidate the fact that I forged my way to compliance. We compiled both of our outputs and passed it on time, but unfortunately for us, my teacher knew that those pics were from the internet. We had a low score, a very low score. Of course, it directly affected my grade. I was even close to failing in maintaining my average. Though my partner didn't show any sign of dismay, I knew that she was disappointed, and with that I felt so guilty. After that incident, I gradually saw the importance of connections and relationships. My main goal was to find a partner, an academic partner, someone I could rely on in case a similar situation comes. So firstly, I observed my classmates' hobbies. I wanted to make sure that I know what I should do. For the first few days, I found it hard to catch up with them. I wasn't even sure if I could fit in. Then, I started reaching out. I agreed to their every argument and belief. I joined them in everything, even though sometimes I wasn't comfortable. A few weeks after, I was informed that there would be tryouts for the school publication. I was so excited. Even before graduating elementary, I already decided to continue campus journalism on my next school. Somehow, I was expecting anyone from my newfound friends that has the same interest. But when the time for the tryouts came, none of my friends joined. I began hesitating. I started overthinking that maybe they didn't join because they hated it. I just gave up the tryout. I felt that knowing my friends weren't really interested, maybe I'd be left out. Though I told myself that day that it just isn't for me, deep in my heart, I wanted to pursue it. I went home feeling hopeless. As usual, no one was home yet. I went straight to bed. Just after a few minutes, I saw myself covered with darkness. I couldn't see a thing. I turned my face side by side, but I spotted nothing. When I looked down, I saw a hole as light was slightly peeking through. I felt the weight of my body, and just like that, I fell into deeper darkness. I screamed and shouted out of fear. I opened my eyes. My heart was beating fast. I was so scared. But then I realized it was another nightmare. Drenched in sweat, I looked around. I was still all alone. My siblings weren't there. I felt my forehead, and it was so hot. I was having fever. At that time, I just cried my eyes out. I felt a slight pierce in my heart as I woke up from realizing, I miss home. My phone wasn't loaded, so I was able to contact neither my parents nor my siblings. I was so sad. I just carried myself out of bed and went to the kitchen. I grabbed the kettle and boiled some water. I waited for a few minutes as I calmed myself. Somehow, I really failed to take care of my health. As I was busy with school, works, and my different endeavors, I forgot to take care of myself. Ever since I was a child, I was already suffering from urinary tract infection. As young as I was, I already visited several hospitals. The common suggestion my doctors tell me was to drink lots of water, but I always failed to comply. It's either I deliberately not drink or I was just really busy. The kettle's light went off. I grabbed a mug and poured the hot water. By then, my mother called. I just opened up to her. I shared all my frustrations throughout that day and the past few months. I spoke for too long that I didn't notice my water had already cooled down. I was reminded of my old self. That very moment, I realized that I was so focused with adjusting here and there, maintaining grades here and there, that somehow I started to forget about other things. I could say that the hot water was like myself. Originally, I have a burning passion, the thing I really love to do, writing. As I wanted to adapt and fit in, I ignored my real happiness and went with what my friends would usually do. I went with the trend. I forced myself to like what they like, do what they do, and believe what they believe in for me to feel that I am part of their circle. Actually, their taste for music wasn't really my type, but because I wanted to feel like I belong, I spent most of my time listening to such music until I became used to it and it became tolerable. Their hobbies weren't really what I usually do, but I dressed myself up to go with the flow. And as I was busy doing those things, the hot water within me has slowly cooled down and lost its heat. Yes, it is still water, but it has lost its main purpose.